Welcome into the Morning Glory Show. The Brian Callahan honeymoon is over and the marriage is just now beginning as they move on to Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets in week 2 for the home opener. If you guys are checking us out for the first time, do us a couple favors. Head over to YouTube, type in Glory Days Sports, go over to that channel, hit subscribe, and hit the like button on this video and hop into the comment sections down below. If you're checking us out on Twitter/X, make sure you hit that retweet button, hit the like button, and we're going to hop into it. So I'm joined by my bookend tackles, as always, B-Will at B-Will-TF-TV at TF-TV Sports. How you doing, B-Will?
I'm great, man. How about y'all?
So far, so good.
Well, I can't complain, but I ain't going to complain.
Feeling better from Sunday. It is a new week. And what about you, Jonathan, at Esports Valen? How you doing today, brother?
I almost left my mic off. What's up, guys? Feeling good, feeling better. Last week I was severely under the weather. But yeah, excited to take a look at last week a little bit, close the door, and then preview this Jets game. And hopefully we got to get back on our hands.
Hey, man, we got to be 1-0 this week.
Got to be. Somebody's O's got to go. Unfortunately, it's on the other side of the records for these two teams. But like I said, make sure you subscribe down below. Enter that Tajay Spears signed jersey giveaway. Like we talked about last week, 94% of y'all checking out the channel aren't subscribed. So if you want to help us hit that 1,000 subscriber goal, which we're like 80 away, we're getting dang close. Help us out with that. In addition to that, we also have our Morning Glory Show merch down below and the channel. Get you a mug, get you a shirt. They look great. Logo looks amazing. But we're going to hop in today's game and preview everything in entirety of this Aaron Rodgers-led Jets team. Essentially, yesterday, we had Jermaine Johnson come out from the New York Jets, which is the starting edge defender for the Jets. He is their numero uno with Hassan Reddick out. We are anticipating him not signing his deal this week. So it'll be Jermaine Johnson's as edge one for them. This is what he had to say on Will Levis. He's a talented athlete and can throw the ball pretty well. But just watching film and just understanding some things about him, especially when he comes out, he's one of those guys that when things aren't going his way, he can kind of panic a little early. B-Will. Any lies detected there?
Not really. So this is something we talked about with Levis. I mean, we know what Levis's temperament ain't really the best, right? So Callahan tried to harness his temperament in the game. As he said in the press conference, a lot of these short throws were by design to calm this guy the hell down, you know. But it's as you said off air, Jake, this guy's like a, what'd you call him?
Said he's like a pit bull just biting at the leash. As soon as he breaks off, he's going to bite somebody. Unfortunately, he got put down last week. But he's aching to have that play that just hurts the team. But hopefully he can clear that up. I think it is teachable. So you just can't do that. So I think you can learn from this.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, some of this stuff that, like, we can rehash the second interception. I just chalk it up to the game, right? It goes on the stat sheet, but the first interception and the fumble, I really just chalk it up to just hurry the hell up a little bit. But the first interception was absolutely, I mean, we've all seen the clip. We've seen the guy on his knees praying to God, or he's got his hand on his head. He just, it's inexcusable. And there's no, as Bill Belichick said, there was no good coming out of that play when you do that. So your thought process is what? What is the thought process if you're thinking? You know what I mean? If you're thinking, right? But that's just that. You got to understand the flow of the game, and like you can be the guy with not being the guy, right? So he was the guy last week in the bad way, but he could have been the guy if he would have just managed the game well. And Callahan, some of it's got to be a little bit on Callahan, sort of. I mean, sometimes you just got to take the ball out of his hand. You know what I mean? And that's just, I mean, yesterday or Sunday would have been a game where you just hand the ball off 3 times, go to third down, throw a screen pass, and be done. Or 2 times, throw a screen pass on third down and be done, give it back to the defense. Because they weren't moving the ball worth a flip. Chicago wasn't, So part of it has to be on Callahan a little bit. But really, I mean, he doesn't make the decisions in game. Levis makes the decisions in his game. But sometimes you can't let that. It's like giving a teenager the keys to the truck on prom night, and you ain't never let him drive before. We gave him the keys to the truck that night, and he crashed. So it's just it can't happen. And Levis has to understand that he's at fault for it, and he knows that. And I don't really put too much stock into him not losing sleep. He shouldn't lose sleep. I mean, it's next week. It's game 1, game 2, week 1 all over again, right? So I don't want him to lose sleep over it, but I want him to not be happy.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think Callahan kind of has harped on that with Levis in the past already. It's like utilizing his body when he doesn't need to. He's like, hey, we've talked about this ad nauseum. It just hasn't clicked for him yet. This is very similar in that same right. My biggest question.
If we're real quick, I feel like Jermaine's he's entirely right. I get like sort of front runner vibes from Levis sometimes, which I really hate to say that, but it sort of seems like it. Like when it's down in the dumps, hey man, he's down. When he's up, he's rah 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 rah. I don't need that shit. I need you to just be even keel and just play the damn position, man, and do good at it. But where I was going was I ain't raised no kids yet, but I feel like I'm stressed every Sunday like I'm raising a teenager. And that's how I feel, Will Levis. I feel like we're raising a teenage boy right now, and he's just going fucking nuts. That's what I feel like. I don't know if any of y'all raised any teenagers yet?
Not yet.
No, yet. I got a little one. He's acting like a teenager right now, but no, yeah. I completely agree with you, B. Will, and I agree with Jermaine Johnson. And that is the case for Will Levis right now. The formula has kind of set a little bit on the sample size, the 10 games we've seen so far, where when he gets, put under duress, he can try to force some plays and try to play hero ball. And that's kind of what happened in that play. I think that he threw the pick 6 at is that, that's probably what drive, 5 or 6 of the game that completely stalled almost in a row. So he's just trying to make something happen. Like at that point, the Bears are kind of like slowly clawing back into the game, and he's thinking, we got to make something happen on offense. And so, yeah, that's the downside, is that sometimes you're going to have games where you need your defense to win. And there's going to be other games situationally where he's going to have to rise above and win the game for you. So for him, I think that's just like a maturity thing to understand that he doesn't have to be the hero. He doesn't have to be Superman and make something happen, because you can put your team at risk and you can lose the game, because literally it can be the one play that makes the difference. And in this case, it was. But the one thing I will say to kind of defend Levis a little bit is that we've spent all week bashing him for that horrendous play. And it was. And by the way, wasn't the only bad play that he made. For whatever reason, he's drifting in the pocket a bunch. He's forcing some throws. There were situations where he took sacks that he shouldn't have took the sack. We talk about that play where he should have, but there were plays there were sacks he took that he didn't have to. He could have gotten rid of the ball. So there was just a lot of things, I think, all of it leading to pressure. So that's going to be the formula of how you beat Tennessee, is you need to pressure Will Levis and put him in an uncomfortable position. And that's going to be the thing over the year that he's going to have to do a better job of, is do better under pressure. And we saw him good under pressure plenty last year in small sample sizes. It happened in Miami where he rose above. It happened in the Pittsburgh game where we were one play away from winning. He did a fantastic job in Pittsburgh, constantly under pressure, constantly. Guys, literally getting tackled as he's getting rid of the ball, putting it right on the money. So we know that he's capable. It's just a matter of him putting it together. So what Callahan said right after the game, where he's like, look, he passed the eye test. Like, we all watched it all throughout training camp. He did a good job in the Saints game, though he wasn't getting pressured. So we know he's capable. It's just a matter of him putting it together. He made one bad play. Like, listen, if he doesn't throw that pick 6, let's say he gets sacked and we punt that away. Let's say we even still lose the game and they just can't put it together on offense. And he forces that last interception at the end of the game. Game's over, whatever. Sure, we're probably like, he didn't do good enough to win the game. He wasn't good enough. But we're not talking about him being a bum either. And that's what the entire national media is doing. So I'm not necessarily buying like he's cooked, he's done. I'm not too worried at this point. It's 1 week. If he goes out there against the Jets and we see the same thing, then we might be in for a long season. And it might be till the tail end of this season until we can honestly say what he's going to be. But he can very well come out against the Jets and have a phenomenal game. And then it's like, oh, okay, Super Bowl's back on, boys. You know what I'm saying? So, like, just trying to take it with a grain of salt. But I like, the last thing I'll comment on is the thing, the presser where he was like, I didn't lose any sleep. I want him to come out and say that. I want him to be cocky. The reason is because, like, have confidence in yourself. He's come a long way. He hasn't put it together fully yet. And that's what people are going to have a problem with that comment. But the reality is that if Aaron Rodgers came out and said that, people wouldn't bat an eye. You're like, of course. That's what quarterbacks are supposed to say. You're supposed to be like, hey, like, it's fine. Like, yes, it sucked. I need to be better. Let's move on. He doesn't need to sit and harp on the mistake because it was just that. So, like, you know, as long as he doesn't continue to make those mistakes, then I'm good with it. And I'm glad he did say that because you need him to have thick skin. Because, by the way, like, we're going to get dragged in the national media, even if he does well. If he does poor, then we're really going to get dragged in the national media. And think about it this way. Our defense was so good that day that we're still, like, changing spreads. And people are still like, oh, well, the Titans are like, you know, if Will can figure it out, like, that's the good news. Like, the silver lining here is that our defense is number one. We have the number one defense currently in the NFL statistically. So going into the Jets game, Titans aren't nearly the pushover that the world thinks that this team is. So that's the silver lining.
My question for you guys, or real quick, Jake, is, and this might be getting a little ahead of ourselves, right? But it's a hypothetical question. How long or how many weeks is it before Callahan takes the keys from the guy? Not actually takes the keys from him, but I'm saying stylistically, offense-wise, before we see that Cincinnati offense in the last half of last season versus what we have now, right? You know, I'm talking, what's the Jake Browning offense? It was a completely different offense if you watch the tape in Cincinnati. How long do you think it'll be before Callahan just has to, like, hey, we got to just do this, move the pocket a lot?
Do it this week. I think
you think it already?
I believe this. We've harped on it all offseason. Can Will Levis be the truck or is he the trailer? I'm fine with him starting out the season as the trailer, and that's what he needed to be last week. And he tried to drive the keys and he drove off the mountain. So taking that ability away from him, having him just going through that first read. If it's not there, hey, check it down, whatever. I'm perfectly fine with that. As of right now, I think we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And that's what we saw last week. I think he can progress. And I think he can get to the point where he can be, I think he can get his driver's license. I think he could get to that point. But it's a long season. He can progress and he's going to learn. And this system is going to evolve around him. He can't just be out there running the Joe Burrow scheme. It's not going to work. He's completely different from Joe Burrow.
Hell, it didn't work for Joe Burrow last week neither.
It did not. They had one of the worst rated offenses out of the entire league last season based on play calling. I saw that somebody put it out a graph earlier this week, but it was like everybody else, and then Cincinnati was way down the list. So
it's trouble in Cincinnati, man.
It could get bad.
They lost their
never really believed in Zach Taylor either. And as soon as Burrow dyed his hair, out the window. Slim Shady showed up.
He couldn't even pick up a Gatorade bottle over. I know you've seen that.
Lord have mercy. What is happening right now? All right, to get us back on track. This is not a Cincinnati Bengals show. What I think about that situation is, first off, let's be honest. Brian Callahan did not have a good second half either. He did not call a good counter game. Like, and he even said it in his post-game pressers. Like, he's talked about it where there was no counter punch. And it was very evident that the play calls and what was happening in the second half were pretty mundane. Like, he was either just trying to get him in rhythm, but they're disrupting that rhythm. So what are we going to do to kind of counter punch? And I think that was a big reason why Will kind of went rogue a little bit on some of those plays, is because he's trying to make something. He's trying to create something out of nothing. So, yeah, I mean, it's not just Will Levis, like, can't deliver that ball, right? Like, you have pass pro was atrocious. The left side of the line that's supposed to be your anchor right now was awful. J.C. Latham was not good. Peter Skoronski was not good in pass pro. Lloyd Cushenberry didn't do a great job either. And obviously they had their moments where they had really good reps, but consistently they were poor. They were not good. So, you know, when you look at like Tyler Boyd having a catch or 2 catches, D-Hop only having 1 catch, Calvin only having 3 catches, like, that's a problem. These are standout guys. Like, it was the same problem for the Chicago offense as well. Couldn't get Keenan the ball, though he dropped a tud, which was crazy. Couldn't get your guys the ball. Couldn't get them involved really. Roma Dunze had 1 fluky catch. So yeah, I mean, that's a big problem to me. That's a problem by the play caller, in my opinion. Like, we can't get the, what's the issue? So yeah, so I think that it wasn't just Will Levis not getting the job done, but I think offensively, Brian Callahan wasn't prepared to call a solo game where he was the one having to go after the defense and say, okay, like, we're going to strike back. We're going to answer back. So I'm excited now that Brian Callahan has that under his belt, and he got to experience that firsthand. Like, because you saw it, like, early in the game, the Chicago Bears defense, it was their MO. They set up, in zone, they drop back, they let you kind of dink and dunk. They try to, get pressure with their front four and then call it good. That wasn't working. Titans offense was clicking against that. Brian, they were prepared for that. It was in the second half where, Eberflus was like, all right, we're going to send pressure. We're going to send an extra guy almost every single down, and we're going to mix it up. And then that really threw things off for the offensive line. It really created trouble, and Brian didn't have a proper, like, what did we see? Like, one screen the entire game? You know what I'm saying? Like, little things that you can do to, oppose the pressure. We didn't really see that. So yes, Will deserves all the blame that he received, but I think it's notably worth mentioning that the second half offensively, from a play calling standpoint, there wasn't a counter punch. And if you're not punching back, then you're not really giving your signal caller the best opportunity. Your playmaker there, you're not giving him the best opportunity to make plays.
Well, I don't think Brian Callahan was prepared to play behind the sticks as much as they were. The Titans shot themselves in this foot. I think we had 7 offensive penalties. So they have to be more efficient and make that easy on Will Levis. And we saw that dig curl to Calvin Ridley that he found down the field on that one scoring drive. That was great. But Will Levis, he was pressured 17 times, 10 of those coming off that left side with Skoronski and Latham. So they have to do better there. But what adjustments do you think this coaching staff should focus on this week to improve protection for Will Levis against Jermaine Johnson and the Jets? Can they put Panic Gate behind them? We'll start with you, Jonathan.
Yeah, they absolutely can. One, the offensive line can do a better job. Peter Skoronski talked about, I think it was like a day or two. I think it was yesterday because of Wednesday practices, but he mentioned yesterday that there was a ton of stuff that he did a really poor job of, and he felt like they were easy adjustments, small technical things that he can fix. We know how good he is. So again, just having a poor game, not a huge deal. J.C. Latham, 50% of his snaps were like, this guy's an all-pro left tackle. The other 50 were atrocious, which is expected from a rookie left tackle, especially a guy new to the left side. So again, I'm not super worried about him. I think it's just a matter of reps. So one, just improved level of play from the offensive line is going to go a long way. You get a healthy Dylan Radins back, which is good news because he was in and out of the game in the second half, which was noticeably worse play from the offensive line. And then I would fully expect to, maybe get, I would like to see like more 12 personnel from this offense. We saw a decent amount of it. We saw almost the exact same play where it was like this, play action boot, like rollout to Nick Vannett where you toss it to him in the flat. So things like that I'm fine with because a lot of the times those are efficient plays. Those are 6-7 yard gains. And, running those into the pressure, which in this case, in my opinion, you're looking at kind of a very similar defensive line from this Jets team as compared to the Bears. We didn't think that the Bears interior pressure was going to be as good as it was. Billings was an absolute monster against Tennessee. So that was a little rough, but expect that from Quinnen Williams. Expect that from Jermaine Johnson. We'll see. Clemens was really good for them, got into the backfield quite a few times. So we'll see if he gets reps against JC or what they decide to do from that standpoint. But, it's going to be a game of trenches again. We're going to have to see the offensive line excel. We're going to have to see, I would like to see more screens, more out of the backfield play, whether it's just like wheel routes or just simple like flat check down stuff. Whatever Will can do to get the ball out of his hands quickly into a playmaker's hands without having to sit on the ball. Just get him in rhythm at first, and then I would like to see this offense get opened up with intermediate routes down the field because you have really, really good receivers that are great in the intermediate game. So to me, efficiency, getting the ball out quick. Aaron Rodgers talked about it on Pat McAfee, where that was his thing against the Niners, is that he knew that he had to be efficient and get the ball out of his hands fast. He couldn't just sit back there. And as a result, he was only sacked once and pressured a couple times. So would like to see that recreated for Tennessee as well.
They got to speed up the progressions for Will Levis, I think, is one of the biggest things. Time to throw last week, he was up there. All 4 AFC South quarterbacks were like 4 of the 5 top ones. So got to speed it up a little bit. And I think just like the Titans pressure on their defensive front, I think the Jets are going to boast a similar thing with, like you said, Quinnen Williams and Javon Kinlaw. The great news for Titans fans is these aren't monstrosities of men like Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. They are technicians. And they're going to – Robert Saleh, he runs a lot of one-gap schemes. So they're going to get upfield, and they're trying to wreak havoc there. I think that kind of plays more into this offensive line, though. I think this is what they're going to – they struggle with power is what I saw last week. So I think that might work out in their favor a little bit more. But at the end of the day, you can't give up 17 pressures in a single game.
Can't win like that.
The Titans should be able to run the hell out of the ball against the Jets. They should. Pollard played well. We should see
Pollard did well. I think the Titans really have to focus on winning on second down. You know, there's way too many times last week that we would have, you know, even or negative plays on 2nd and 10, and that just sets you up for failure on third and long, puts you in 3rd and long situations where you've got these offensive line. You got Latham, you got Skoronski, you got our offensive line just on their heels, 3rd and long. These guys are coming at them. You know what I mean? So I think that has a little bit to do with Callahan. It has a little bit to do with Levis. We've just got to find a way to get positive plays on 2nd down to get in 3rd and manageable. And I think things work themselves out a lot easier if we're able to do that. We just weren't in 3rd and manageable a lot. And when we were in 3rd and manageable, we found a way to convert. But when we weren't, we didn't. You know, outside of that throw to Ridley up the left hash. But, you know, it's just going to take a, you know, between Levis and Callahan. I'm not 100% sure if I want him to take the keys away from Levis yet with the stylistically of the offense yet, right? I mean, I think Levis has got to die trying doing that. You know, we've seen him in the Rudolph, or not Rudolph, but the other still stylistic offense, even though it was Tim Kelly. He didn't do that good in that either. So, you know, I mean, we got to see in this, Callahan's got to stick to his bread and butter, and it's going to be something ideological with Callahan of, should I stick with this or should I just, you know, sort of swallow my pride and just try and make it work, right? I think he should try and stick with it, and
he has to.
Let's be honest, we're not winning
week,
the Super Bowl,
1 weekend,
right?
So.
Well,
it is, but I'm saying he's got to stick to his guns. I'm talking not even like week 2. I'm talking throughout the season. If Levis doesn't improve, he's still got to stick to his guns and stick to that sort of spread style offense. I see. Let Levis flame out like that. To hell with it. You know, I mean, it is what it is.
You have to know what you have, and the only way to do that is to give him the keys. Like, let him go. Because guess what? Like, there's going to be games like this, guys. There's going to be games where Will fucks it up and he muffs it, and it's like, oh, well, I guess we're going to lose now because of this terrible play. But guess what? We're going to be talking about games this season where Will connects on that deep ball to Ridley. And then if he makes a mistake, it's not backbreaking. We don't lose the game because of it. And then it's like, oh, Titans win 27, 24 or whatever, right? So we're going to have those moments. The only thing you have to hope is that he's able to rein in the mistakes and make more plays than he misses. And he's got like the high boom potential for that, but you don't know if he's going to do it. Like Jake Browning is not that guy. He's going to go out there, manage the game, and win some games just on efficiency. And they looked good. And you hope that Rudolph can do that in the case that Levis misses time. But with Will Levis, like, you want him to be Josh Allen. You want him to be able to take over a game, and you can't do that if you chain him. So I don't think there's ever a scenario this entire season where you chain him, because right now you have to know if he's the guy. This season, we have to know. We cannot. It is not an option going into 2025 going, is he the guy? We can't have the same question marks that we have today at the end of the year. It can't happen. If that's the case, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, I think, and about the Levis thing with Josh Allen, I think he's closer to the DN Josh Allen than the quarterback Josh Allen. But that's just
oh,
me.
Lord.
Athletically. But Stevie in the comments, Gordy TV, thank God it wasn't the playoffs, but it could be one of the ones that keeps us out. Shake his head.
Yes.
I mean, it really could. I could see this coming down to week 18. If this was like week 18, could 100% keep you out, or if it's a wild card spot, I mean, your season's over at that point. So
we lost one that all three of us counted on, right? So this is one of the 10
That's
that
true.
Jonathan coerced me into.
I didn't do none of that.
So
go back.
Tony in the comments. Have you guys talked about signing Ryan Tannehill yet? And
we were just about to mention that, Tony.
Is he gonna fly the team plane?
Yeah.
What is?
We might be seeing him next week in Green Bay, but
they better not take Malik Willis versus Will Levis away from us. I swear to God, I'll be so pissed. I need it like I need air in my lungs.
And if Green Bay wins, I don't think there's going to be a lower low for me.
Arseny.
But do you think Ryan Tannehill would have won the game against Chicago, though, if he was the starting quarterback?
No, absolutely not. I don't think
he
so.
would have. I think he would have. I don't think it would have been.
He wouldn't have rolled. He wouldn't have drifted.
Mason Rudolph may have won, too.
Well, here's the thing. Tannehill would not have won. Mason Rudolph would have won because Mason Rudolph knows that if he throws a pick like that, he's selling insurance on Tuesday.
Facts. That's facts.
So he would have won.
That's the most facts thing that's ever come out of your mouth.
Yeah, he would have won. Tannehill, he would not. Tannehill can go fly planes and shit. Rudolph is selling insurance. He does his shit Levis pulled Sunday. I'll be honest.
That's Chef Rand saying Ryan would have won easily. I don't know if it would have been easily. I think he just would have not made that one mistake. So,
I think the point here is that we unanimously agree that the quarterback didn't have to win that game. He just needed to. He needed to be a pilot. He needed to fly the plane. He needed to get us off the ground, get us to the airport, and land the plane. That's all he had to do. And he didn't land the plane. He crashed. So yeah, I mean, I look. I'm pretty over it. Like we're clearly all pissed because we had really high hopes for Will Levis going into week 1. He underperformed. So, moving forward, I am optimistic on what this guy looks like. I think that we're going to see, something similar to what we saw last year in some of those flashes in the pan. I just want to see more than anything. I just want to see this team string together a couple of the drives that we saw. That one really beautiful drive in the second quarter that we saw for the Titans, where it ended in a Chig touchdown. Like, I want to see more of that. So if we can string some of those drives together, we're going to be in good shape because this defense is phenomenal. So, yeah.
Chef Rand, Derrick Henry led us to a number 1 seed, not Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill had some pretty okay. Tannehill had some pretty okay games. The Kansas City game was really impressive.
He led us to Cancun too. So, I mean,
I don't know if I can ever forgive him for that.
Let's talk about his defense, man.
Let's hop into it. Let's talk about it.
Before we start talking about Tannehill, I go off.
Let's talk about
you want to talk about off the rails if Malik Willis comes into Nashville and beats Will Levis? Yeah, you can go ahead and pack up the entire stadium and send it to Mars.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll have a breakdown video after that one because
we won't have any videos after that one. We're done.
You're gonna have to pull me off bridge like Bon Jovi did yesterday. But
my house.
Just touching on Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears, just real quick before we hop into the defense. The Jets, obviously, that's where you need to attack that defense. The Jets, they were the 25th ranked in rushing yards allowed last season, and then going up against a Christian McCaffrey-less 49ers team allowed 147 rushing yards to Jordan Mason.
It was 5 yards a clip to Jordan Mason.
180 total yards.
Look at the contrast. Look at the contrast. Look at the contrast of the Bears rush defense versus the Jets rush defense. Okay. So like, if you just want to talk about like, hey, let's run the ball. Let's be efficient. The Titans began to do that and did a good job of that in the second half.
First half, they did not. Second half, they did not.
Right. Sorry, I misspoke. And then, so like, obviously the Jets are going to try to get after the Titans, I'm sure. That's something they're going to try to establish early on. But I think there's a good chance that we see a bigger dose of Tajay earlier in the game as well. And they're gonna give it to him. They're gonna run the ball. And this Titans offense, our offensive line has done a pretty good job in run defense from the little bit that we've seen from them so far. So I'm actually pretty optimistic about this game for that reason. I think the run game is going to be successful. That's going to open up opportunity for Will Levis to play a more efficient game and hopefully not be, under duress the entire time. And we'll see a more impressive or at least a proper counterpunch from Brian Callahan, assuming the Jets kind of mix it up on him. So, yeah, the run game I think is going to play a big role.
And while we're on Spears, real quick, I got a silent wager in a group chat of mine that I said that Tyjae Spears is going to finish the season with more all-purpose yards than Derrick Henry. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Ooh.
I thought the exact same thing before the season.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with that. I think
that Tyjae finishes more?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
I think so too.
The receiving yards are going to be there. I think the carries are going to – I mean, Brian Callahan even talked about it. He's like, hey, we got to get Spears the ball more. I think he's going to have more breakaway runs, and Pollard, I think, will probably break down a little bit more as we progress through the season, and that Spears will eventually be 1A to the 1B. Pollard might be the 1A right now, though. So I think it does change, and Spears just take over as the primary. What about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think Spears is good enough to be a starting running back. I've said that since we saw him in the Senior Bowl last year. Yeah, I'm really high on Tyjae. I think he's going to carve a bigger role for himself and maybe even eventually be the primary guy. I mean, we'll see. They're paying Tony Pollard a decent amount of money for an aftermarket running back. I like Pollard a lot, and he's been great, and he'll probably stick around for another year or two maybe, but I think it's going to be the Tyjae Spears show, and they're going to compliment him, not the other way around. But yeah, I could see it. I really could see it. After Harbaugh came out and said that ridiculous shit about Derrick Henry, bro, my jaw, I wanted to flip every table in the city of Murfreesboro. It didn't make any sense. Like, how do you watch how the Titans use Derrick Henry successfully, how he didn't work unsuccessfully, and then say, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do the one that doesn't work. It just dude.
Henry's never not been featured in his whole life, bro. Going back to Yulee High School. So why do they think it's going to work at the NFL level?
Watching Derrick Henry on the sidelines in the camera, you know the face he makes.
So beautiful,
like, dude. Seeing that, I was like, oh my god,
so beautiful.
This isn't our problem. Oh, it really was. And I want Derrick to succeed. Let me be upfront about that. He's one of my favorite Titans of all time, but it was just interesting to watch it happen to another team exactly how it happened to us. So for me, those guys got to wake up. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, if Derrick touches the ball 25 times that game, I think you're looking at, I mean, he was efficient when he had the ball.
Oh, yeah.
He was good. You know, so
scored on the first drive of the game.
He had his 3.8 yards per carry, same thing he did last year. I wanted to be so bad in Baltimore that people forget he played there, like Eddie George with Dallas. That's how bad I wanted to go for him.
I'm not going to lie. I would like the same, but
I think Harbaugh, both Harbaughs are super known for being liars in press conferences as well. So even though he said that, I could see where he comes out this week and gets 30 plus. I could see him doing that. The Ravens, they're going to feed Henry. They should. It's just politics. Talking about politics right after the debate a couple days ago. But we should touch on the secondary. Let's touch the secondary just a little bit because we haven't talked about Sauce Gardner, and he's probably the best player that's going to be on the field on Sunday. Sauce was targeted one time with one incomplete pass against IU.
That's different, man.
So we faced Jalen Johnson last week, and we saw how that kind of played out. Sauce is a step above. We know that. So that's shutting down one side of the field, and Sauce does travel a decent amount as well from time to time. So we'll see how that goes. But if you're going to attack the secondary with Will Levis, how are you doing that? How do you get these weapons into open space? We'll start with you, B. Will.
I think Callahan did a good job, and he's going to do even more of it, of getting Calvin Ridley in motion and getting him moving around the ball. Like, so, Ridley went on a few jets. He ran a few motions where he would, we had a couple orbit motions with Ridley. We had some where he came halfway across formation, sprinted back. I'd like to see some of that with him and just do that a little more. We can do that and do a sprint out boot on the backside of that just to get the ball in Ridley's hands. Screen passes, same as Callahan said in the press conference.
Defensive line too.
Yes. So, getting Ridley in motion and involved, he can run the full route tree like Callahan said. Let's just throw the kitchen sink at him, with Ridley. And that's the only way you'll be able to get a guy like Sauce. I mean, so when you got DBs that travel like that, there's a couple ways to combat that. You can have them moving like basketball where Curry goes around in a whole bunch of screens and you just try and run them out. So you can try and do that. Or you can just throw them on one side of the field and just have them work with that receiver and hope the receiver wins a couple times. But I'm more of the the method of trying to get them moving and trying to just get them tired out over the course of the game, right? So that's going to be something I think Callahan to do with Ridley. It'll be interesting to see if he gets Ridley in motion a lot and Sauce is trying to tail him, because that way we could get him third, fourth quarter, and Sauce might it might drop a little bit. We'll see. But I mean, we're talking one of the best DBs in the league. There's only so much you can do. He's gonna shut something down, right? It's just about if we can try and capitalize off some of the opportunities that we get by moving Ridley around, maybe. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Ridley, you can count him out next week. We'll talk about Ridley next week after next with Sauce Gardner. I ain't gonna lie to you.
He'll still have some catches. But here's the thing. Like, here's the beauty of that situation.
3 for probably 27.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing. This is going to be a Tyler Boyd game. This should be a Tyler Boyd game. This should be a game where Tyler Boyd has 6-7 catches, 80, 90 yards, where he finds these blips in the zone, and he gets open across the middle. D-Hop, it looks like he's probably going to play like maybe 80 or 90% of the snaps, like close to full participation, which is really good. Yeah, D-Hop, Sheffran, he should be close to 100%.
Full workload is what it sounded like.
Yeah, pretty close is what Callahan said. So having him back is going to be really, really big, because here's the thing. Like, to B. Will's point, they did a really good job of motioning and moving players around in the backfield and creating opportunity. I think that's going to help in the run game. And I think that's also going to create some opportunity to widen the field and try to get your playmakers out in space. And so, for a traveling Sauce Gardner, if you can get the ball in Calvin Ridley's hands really quickly off a quick slant or something like that, then you can move the ball against a guy like Sauce. But if you try to send him on 10-yard out routes and posts and stuff, Sauce is going to be all over him. So yeah, I think that this is going to be a heavy secondary part of your offense. So guys like Tyler Boyd, maybe even Treylon Burks, D-Hop. These are guys that should see, you heard me, the most efficient wide receiver for the Titans last week. So guys like that are going to get the ball. 0 drops. Guys like that are going to get the ball. A couple of broken tackles. Guys like that are going to get the ball. No turnovers. Didn't fumble or anything like that. Guys like that are going to get the ball, and there's going to be really good opportunity for them to create space and get horizontal on the field. And I think that's going to help move give yourself that EPA that Brian Callahan is looking for, but more importantly, keep the ball moving, get these third downs converted, like B. Will said, these third and shorts instead of putting yourself in all these third and longs, and then create efficiency that gets you to score points. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, guys, just to kind of flash my score a little bit, not giving it up, but I think it's going to be a relatively low scoring-ish game. I think it's going to be a defense dominant game. We'll see if the Titans defense how long they can bend, and if the offense can kind of keep up, because that's going to be the tail of the day.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head with the Tyler Boyd game. I think if you're going to attack this secondary, you do it through the middle of the field with Ashton Davis and Chuck Clark. You can take advantage of those safeties there. And that's something Will Levis did pretty well last week. He was 7 for 9 for 52 yards over the middle. So I think that's where a lot of this needs to happen. And I got to see more play action. I saw a lot of Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears in the backfield and 21 personnel, like Stoney said in the comments. We got to see some of that. We got to see some 12 there. I think this could be, in addition to Tyler Boyd, a good Josh Wiley or Chigakonkwo game. Get them stretching the seams. I think you can take advantage of that. And I think that's something Will Levis is comfortable doing as well. So I think that should play into the success for this team and should help with the EPA and the efficiency of this offense and getting into third and shorts and converting into those first downs. But
did Brian Callahan, real quick, think Josh Wiley was a trainer or something with that new helmet on? Because I didn't see him in the game.
There was literally almost no 22. We didn't see any 12 personnel.
Where did he think Josh? Did he not recognize him on the sideline or something?
It was weird.
He got that new hat on.
It was weird.
He got that guardian thing on.
So Josh Wiley was out there for
dodging water coolers
of the 64 snaps. And we heard it all offseason that he might be tight end 1. Wasn't the case last week. And Nick Vannett, he had the big run. I mean, Josh Wiley played more snaps than Nick Vannett. I felt like I saw a lot more Vannett out there.
Yeah. So,
I mean, Chig, I thought Chig played really well too. I thought
he surprised me. Yeah.
If he could have had some more opportunities, it was funny. The first catch was like a little scamper, broke a tackle or something, and then I immediately thought of B. Will. I'm like, how does he think he's a bum? This is a good player. Every time he gets the ball, I'm like, Chig is a good player. But yeah,
the problem with him
is the catch, and he had those yips last year. That was the biggest thing. Maybe the yips are done.
I mean,
it's leading up to the catch with him.
He needs opportunity. We'll see. But
TD said on his show earlier this week that Chig has been on those jug machines every single practice afterwards. So he knows what he needs to work on.
Yep.
And if he can put that together, it'll be okay.
I ain't going to say he's heard me calling him a bum for the last 6 months, but he's been on the jugs machine for the last 6 months. So maybe it's worked. I just needed to work with a little. Maybe I got to do that with Will Levis.
Yeah.
It still ain't worked for Traylon Burks. Amani Hooker, it worked a little bit. He still had his hooker moments where he deserved to get hooked. But, I've found out with that guy. So here's the thing, looking at Amani Hooker and, last week, he plays a lot better when he doesn't have to do two things, cover somebody or play center field. And it just sucks for him because that's what safeties do. But if he can come downfield and play in the box, he's serviceable in the box.
He played center field really well last week.
No, man, I don't want this guy in space.
He was pretty good in space last week. Was
only
he not?
space, the only space I want him. The only space I want him in.
Last week.
Hey, the only space I want him in is up there with the astronauts that didn't come back. That's where I want him at. I don't need him in space on the field.
What does Amani Hooker have to do to win your love, man?
I'm just saying, I don't need this guy in space on the field.
We got Jamal Adams that might be out there this week as well. That might be taking away some of those box snaps. And Amani might be more covering that center field.
Lord have mercy.
We'll see how that plays out. Well, let's bring up this injury report, which the Titans they put out theirs afterwards. All full participants across the board from Radens and Hopkins and Adams. I think those were the only 3 you listed. And those are all full participants. Yep. So we just have the Jets really with DJ Reed being a limited. That one could be big. Javon Kinlaw, not injury related. I didn't see reported why he was not out there, but by all accounts, we have to assume he's going to be out there. And then everybody else, Ashton Davis, Mike Williams, probably the
Mike Clemens.
Mike Clemens.
Mike who? Mike Jones.
Mike Jones. But
Michael Clemens. It's like that's a white guy.
Yeah. But Mike Williams, that might be one of the biggest ones we see out there just because we know Garrett Wilson probably going to be shut down by L'Jarius Sneed, and I would anticipate him shadowing this week. And then it comes down to Mike Williams and Alan Lazard, Aaron Rodgers' boy.
He really shadow as much as I thought he would.
Last week he did not.
I was just about to say that, and I think that was by design, right? Because
you got those 3 studs out there,
right?
Yeah.
So you almost need L'Jarius to just kind of play the strong side of the play,
that's what I was about to say.
So it makes sense, but I think for the Titans,
this guy knew
this week it's very straight. It's very straightforward, where he should be following Garrett Wilson. And Roger McCreary, he didn't get the love that he deserved really either. McCreary was awesome, bro.
Oh, he's amazing.
He had some really big plays.
3 tackles for losses at the slot position.
He was all over it. So, I'm actually pretty optimistic when it comes to the defensive back wide receiver matchup for the Titans. I think the Titans have the edge on that. I really do, actually. So, Garrett Wilson, he's a phenomenal player, but I think you can take him out of the game. This is going to sound so ignorant, but I think he can be taken out of the game fairly easily because you have L'Jarius Sneed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he's a bum, but I am saying that should be, you should be able to cross that off. This defense matches up really well. Our defense matches up really well.
Do y'all know who really surprised? That's not wasn't a surprise, but it was refreshing to see Jarvis Brownlee Jr. Oh my gosh.
He shut down that entire series that he came in.
Oh my gosh. The week 1 rookie, 5th round pick, 6th round pick?
5th round.
What? That's insane. What he's doing as a 5th round pick week 1, that's crazy. We've got 1st round picks we're still trying to get the best out of Traylon Burks. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? It's just, Carthen might have hit with one on there, and his game is so similar to Sneed's that it's going to help him so much because Sneed's going to really just mentor him. You know what I mean?
He's our Trent McDuffie.
Yeah. Well,
he is.
Hold on now.
I'm not saying he's going to be Trent McDuffie. I'm saying he is our Trent McDuffie.
He's in the protegeal role. Yeah. We'll say that.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go. It's exciting to see because we haven't had that in a corner. And even McCreary played extremely well in the slot. I mean, that's where his home is. I don't. Hopefully one day he can move outside, maybe. Maybe he can jump off the porch. But right now, I need him in the slot. He does really well in the slot. That secondary was extremely sticky, guys. I mean, that's one of the best secondary performances I've seen from the Titans in my life. And that's a good receiving core they did it against. And a good quarterback. I'll give Williams, you can see it. He didn't play well. You can see where he's gonna be Caleb Williams.
Yeah, he's gonna
miss a lot of easy throws that he will make
in
the future.
And they didn't give him a lot of opportunities either. They dropped some of the easy throws. He put a dot right on Kellen or whatever his name, Keenan Allen. So yeah, that secondary was extremely sticky and they did so well. And also, are we talking about Meatloaf yet? Are we talking about Meatloaf? Are we talking about Meatloaf?
We'll give Meatloaf his flowers here in a second, but we got to give flowers to Chidobe Awuzie as well. I think it went overlooked. I think it went overlooked out there because he was not targeted. He allowed one catch to Keenan Allen, and that was it for 7 yards. Yards. So even though you didn't see him on the broadcast, he had a very good game as well. So this is a 4 rotation between those starting 3 and the rookie out there
and Diggs
Brownlee. And Diggs played okay, I thought. Looking back at it, he allowed some stuff. I think it will get cleaned up. But
he missed a big tackle. That was a real bummer. But other than that, I didn't see much from him.
But yeah, let's get some, like Stoney says in the comments, Ma, some meatloaf.
You hungry? Hey, Ma, can we get some meatloaf?
Chaz, I think I'm okay. I had a bite right before I came over. Thank you.
You sure?
You know what? I will have some meatloaf. Let's have some meatloaf.
You want some?
Yes.
I knew you'd come. Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf! What is she doing? I never know what she's doing back there. Ma, the meatloaf!
So Devondre Sweat came out and put the world on notice in week 1. He played amazing. He played great out there, being with Jeffrey Simmons taking as many doubles and triple teams that he did. Devondre Sweat took. We got to give flowers to Keandre Coburn, Sebastian, just again. This entire interior defensive line played lights out last week. Lynch, he played like 7 snaps and he had the one good play.
He had a really good pressure.
He had a good pressure. He knocked down the ball.
Man. Jonathan sees the best in everybody.
Yeah. I'm going to reserve my Lynch. We're not going to Lynch just yet.
Hey, man, if I'm ever feeling down in the dumps, man, I'm going to Jonathan Miller's house.
Jonathan going to talk you up.
You're great, man. You're great. You're doing an excellent job, buddy.
But Devondre Sweat, he debuted his swim move, played great. He's putting it all together. And the biggest thing we harped on all off season was, is he going to play the amount of snaps that he needs to play? Dude finished like 3rd in total snaps from the rookies in the interior defensive line. I think Byron Murphy had a few more snaps, and then Fisk, who was just an animal.
More than Byron Murphy again.
It was like I think I can't remember. I think Devondre Sweat played like 38. I feel like Murphy played like 41. It was not a big difference. And then Braden Fisk, dude is just a machine out there. He can play every snap he needed to. So Devondre,
I've got to watch some tape on him in LA. I've got to see how he did.
I didn't watch it. I just looked at the snap count, but by all accounts, it looked like he played pretty well. So what are our thoughts on just these rookies in general? Devondre Sweat showing out. We've got Jarvis Brownlee showing out. We didn't see any Jaquan or James Williams, any of these other guys, and Latham played okay. We talked about that earlier. Yep. But looking at how young this roster is on the defensive side of the ball, and we talked about it in the group chat, at what point in time are Titans fans going to start talking about how Sweat is better than Simmons, even though Simmons is taking up all of the blocking? Start with you, Jonathan.
I think Jeffrey Simmons is over the moon by this pick, and we 100%. Got to see it in real time. So, yeah, I mean, it was like all offseason long, we were talking about like, oh, is this player, blah, 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 blah. Like all of the scrutiny that Devondre got was ridiculous. And he went out there and showed why he was the best interior defensive lineman last year in college football. Hell, why he was the best defensive lineman in college football, you could argue, right? And so for me, I was like, I'm not surprised by this level of play. I'm really excited by it because this is a running mate in the interior. I mean, these guys have the ability to be the best duo interior defensive linemen in the league. They really do. And, you know, we saw it a little bit from Simmons, and we talked about it. Our keys to victory basically last week was the interior had to be dominant. And they had to eat up, you know, 3 blockers so that these edge players could get a chance to have some one-on-ones. That's exactly what happened. As a matter of fact, Jeffrey Simmons ate up 3 blockers at one point. And then we saw Harold Landry off the stunt, free sack. And so that's exactly what we need from this team. So if Simmons is not in the backfield, if he's getting doubled, Tavondre has a chance to get one-on-one. If Tavondre is getting doubled, Jeff has a chance to get one-on-one. And now there's the potential of that happening. But I can tell you right now that teams are going to be like, screw it. We'll just give the rookie that one-on-one opportunity. He's going to blast past people, and eventually he's going to start making some plays where he connects. He's like this close on so many plays where he's going to make a splash play. He couldn't quite get home, but just the level of pressure created so much opportunity for his teammates. So if that is the floor that Tavondre Sweat gives you, he's going to elevate this defense. All the players around him. I mean, hell, like the edge play was pretty decent. Like there was some good pressure. It was a pretty good performance for the defensive line as a whole. And we didn't tally a bunch of sacks, but the pressure they created was, you know, helped all across the board. And when you add a guy like Ernest Jones, who's going to see more play, get him flying into the backfield, you know, Kenneth Murray kind of getting sideline to sideline, like there's a lot of opportunity for this defense to be elevated. And Tavondre Sweat is a major part of that now. And it's so exciting to watch. I love the player. I love the pick. I'm even happier that it's coming together. And he even said it. Like, you can see the confidence growing in him, too. In the presser, he goes, that's not the best game that you guys watch me that I'm going to play. And when he said that, I went, Birdman hand rub. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on. So, yeah, really excited for their potential. And then for the other rookies, yeah, I mean, Jarvis Brownlee, like we saw in camp, like he's as advertised. He had a pretty good rep. Several good reps, really, if we're being honest. In that game, he saw more play than I thought he was going to. Surprisingly, he was out there quite a bit, but I loved it, and I'm really, really high on him. I'm really excited about that. Jaquan could have been better in the return game, if we're being honest. He had a lot of opportunities and didn't really do much with it. So, but I don't think it's because of his ability. I thought it was because of the design. I think Colt Anderson needs to get in the lab and kind of get creative with some blocking, pull some players, take a look at what happened week 1, take some stuff from some other teams and get a little creative.
The damn Bears special teams coach ran a damn counter on us on kickoff. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Talking about kickoff for a second, Stevie in the comments. Speaking of Jaquan, we were talking about earlier, should we mix up more Spears in the return game? What did we think about this return game in general? I didn't necessarily see a lot to like from Jaquan out there, and I think if you want to get Spears more involved, I'm fine with that. I think it's just another way to get playmakers the ball, but I think in his own right, I think Jaquan's going to get better as well because I think he is a playmaker as well.
I think kickoff, we have to get some playmakers involved in kickoff. There's value in that, in the way kickoff is set up now. You saw it around the league week 1, big plays. I mean, you still have that moment of angst like on kickoff because guys are just running free and you've got guys running with a full head of steam at a 30-yard line. So big plays can happen on kickoff. I think we've got to find a way to get our playmakers involved on kickoff. You know, somebody like maybe not punt return. I'm fine with just throwing somebody back on punt return. But on kickoff return, I would love to see, you know, Spears or somebody in there. I mean, we got to utilize our guys. Spears, we know he came in without an ACL. He's only got a certain number of miles. The way going off of what Carthon's done, you know, evaluating running backs with Spears in the 3rd round, I'm confident that we can get another one. So let's run the miles up with Spears, throw him on kickoff, and try and get the best out of him, the most out of him now. And I think we should do that. But there's opportunity on kickoff return to really have big plays depending on the playmaker you have back there. Both of them. You know, there's a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Let's get creative, man. Let's get creative. Let's pull half of the players on the right side and literally create like a funnel up the left side, do something crazy with the blocking, and literally just run it down the hash like the Music City Miracle and call it good. Just get creative, man. Like, have fun
they
with
said,
it.
they said Aaron Rodgers came back with a full playbook of kickoff return plays after his ayahuasca trip.
I believe it. Yeah, you got to get creative. Yeah, I would just like to see Colt get in his bag a little bit and toss some stuff at him. Jaquan is a very talented returner. He just needs some opportunity. Like, he needs some space. I think they just played it a little safe because it was week 1. Like, hey, let's not do anything crazy. Now I think they need to do something a little like mix it up a little bit, have fun with it, because I think the Bears did a pretty good job on special teams in that way. So would like to see them mix it up. But yeah, as far as the rest of the rookies, like, really, really excited for the potential on this defense. I'm really excited to see Ernest Jones out there more.
Yes.
I want to see him as a full-time starter, get Jack Gibbons off of my football team so far away.
He needs to go up there at the International Space Center with Hooker.
I'm fine with that. I can agree with that. Yeah. So, like, yeah, and just to hear him, I don't want to talk about Jack Gibbons. Never mind. I don't want. It's gonna make me mad.
Like, he said he missed an assignment. Jonathan.
Yeah, bro. He blew the block on the punt.
He almost got our punter killed.
Yeah. No.
Hey, what do y'all think was going through Stonehouse's head? Second punt back. You got 250.
You know those memes where it's like, you know how I ended up here, and it's like pauses and freeze frame. It's the same exact thing that happened last season.
Ryan, and you might be thinking, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Well, me too.
Stonehouse is a nice guy. Yeah, Stonehouse is a nice guy, because if I was Stonehouse, I would go on that sideline immediately to Gibbons and cuss the paint off of him.
Meet Dr. Gibby
from Stonehouse.
Meet Dr. Gibby. Good thing he's a doctor, because now my fibula is snapped in half, and he's going to be repairing it on the sideline.
No, secondary.
And I felt that for Stonehouse too. I felt that for Stonehouse too when I seen them bearing down. I said, "Oh my gosh!"
Yep, knew it was coming.
No.
Sign of
but to the rookies though, with Sweat, guy. I mean, he's just that he elevates that defense, like you said, Jonathan. He's the glue for that defensive line, that whole defense. He allows teams, or he doesn't allow teams to just set up shop and just run the ball down our throats because they can't pass the ball on us. He sort of forces their hand a little bit. And then what's really impressed me with Sweat, something I had reservations on him, two things was, his stamina in game, and he's lost a lot of weight in the offseason. He looks exceptional, man. Looks like he's ready to go be in Men's Magazine right now. But he's lost the weight for the stamina, and then he's also shown some prowess in the pass game and pass rush. He's shown a little bit of a toolbox there. So exciting to see. Sounds like
bro, did you guys see how many assignments Jack Gibbons didn't miss? He did such a good job being on the field covering a guy that still caught a ball.
Hey, man.
What? Jack Gibbons.
He reminded me of Rashaan Evans, the way he would just run around like with his head cut off in the secondary.
Oh, my gosh.
He's Rashaan Evans without being an athlete, which is all
it's
that
terrible.
Rashaan had going for him.
Yeah, at least Rashaan was a demon in the run game.
Razor blade, bring him back. But Jack Gibbons, he finished with 30 snaps on the day. EJ finished with 26. You would anticipate that flip-flopping and moving in EJ's direction very soon. Going back to this defense, and obviously we're seeing Aaron Rodgers Aaron Rodgers saw the first full four quarters in like 2 years last week. Ultimately, that's what's going to make or break this defense, in my opinion. How good is Aaron Rodgers going into week 2 as he progresses and gets back? Jonathan, what did you see from Aaron Rodgers last week? Did you still see that A-Rod of old, or is he moving more and getting better? Is he still who he was? I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I wouldn't say that he's back in form. I mean, you have to think, like, the injury that he's coming off of is pretty challenging. I mean, you have to plant into the ground and deliver the ball. I think he's fully healed. But I think that, he still is adjusting to a new team, still is adjusting to, the game again. I mean, he missed an entire year. He only played a couple snaps, and then he was gone for the entire year. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's still going to sling the ball. He's still going to deliver. He's still going to be efficient, get the ball out of his hands really quickly. Like, that's what the Titans can expect in week 2, is a guy who's not going to hang on to the ball. There's not going to be a ton of time. Now, what I am excited about against Aaron Rodgers in particular is the interior pressure that's going to come to him. Brian Callahan talked about it ad nauseum and did a really good job explaining everything in that presser where he basically said, look, interior pressure is like a quarterback's number one enemy, right? Because when you have pressure off the edge, you can step into the pocket, you can find lanes to throw, you can get the ball out quickly, still you can move around. When the pocket crashes from the inside, you're forcing the quarterback out of the pocket. And I can tell you right now that Aaron Rodgers is far less efficient crashing out of the pocket than Caleb Williams was. Caleb Williams is at least athletic enough to get out of the pocket and try to find somebody. Coburn, Sweat, these are big boys, and they did a really good job of hustling, getting to the ball carrier. So, yeah, I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to have a tougher time against, I wouldn't say tougher in terms of it being better than the pressure that the 49ers created. The pressure is going to be different than what the 49ers created. And I think that bodes well for Tennessee, because though Aaron Rodgers is great, he's incredibly efficient, he's going to get the ball out quickly, you're not going to get a whole lot of pressures and not going to tally a whole lot of sacks, but you are going to create some dysfunction for Rodgers and, you know, make it hard for him to complete those easy balls because he's going to have so much pressure in his face so quickly. He's not, you know, known for rolling out and creating space. He's not Mahomes. He's not, you know, a get out of the pocket and then create opportunity. Now you're screwed. He's going to make a play. He's not going to do a whole lot of that. So that does favor the Titans in that way.
I think we see more of what Denard Wilson's defense is actually going to look like this week. Last week, they played a lot more zone, I think, than we'll be used to seeing this year, and it's going to be a lot more man. You had to worry about Caleb, like you said, getting out of the pocket and taking it off and using those legs. Aaron Rodgers is a statue compared to Caleb Williams. So I think I don't know if we'll see more blitzes this week just because Aaron Rodgers.
I think you will.
I think it's going to be relatively the same. I think they're going to rely on this front four a lot to get pressure, especially in the interior, like you were saying. But Aaron Rodgers, he knows where that pressure is coming from. And like you said, he's going to dump it off quick. He's going to find that hole. So I think they're going to mix it up like they did last week. But in turn, I think we're going to see a lot more man coverage this week and less cover 3, cover 6 like we saw last game.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, so, you know, with Rodgers, I mean, I think we're going to see a little bit of what you said, Jake, with, you know, a lot more man coverage and such. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think it's more so on Rodgers. I think it's the fact that he's got Nathaniel Hackett, Todd Downing, and Keith Carter on that offensive coaching staff, and that's abysmal. I heard we were going to retire. I heard we were going to do a ring ceremony for Keith Carter. Did y'all hear that?
A ring of fire, maybe.
Yeah, but that's really what it boils down to. Is we're gonna see you know, how that offensive line, you know, sort of how their offensive line sort of reacts to ours. We're gonna see Olu Fashanu against Latham. Nobody talks about that. We'll see that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it'll be interesting to see. I think Rodgers will still be decent. It depends on Mike Williams plays. You know, Mike Williams give him that second option. Lazard is okay, but you know, I don't anticipate Garrett Wilson getting that many opportunities with Snead traveling with them if that's what happens. So interesting to see.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything today, but we got to give our picks for this week, and we're going to do just like we did last week. We're breaking down the AFC South. We got B-Will's picks after me and Jonathan got off the show. Unfortunately, we all picked the same teams. So we are all 2-1 at this point in time because we picked the Texans. We picked who played the Jags, I forget, but we picked them to lose.
Miami.
And then they played Miami, and then we all picked the Titans to win. So we're all 2-1 at this point in time. But we've got 4 games to pick this week, and we'll break down the other 3 AFC South teams, giving our wins and losses, and then we'll break down this Titans-Jets game, and we'll actually give you a score prediction on that one. So we're going to start with Bears at Texans. With a Sportsline has Houston as a 6-point favorite at this point in time, or as of last night. Haven't seen if it changed. Jonathan, where are you going with Bears Texans?
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans to cover. Their Texans money line pounding it. Yeah, I think they're favored by 6. There's a good chance they win by 10 or more points. This is a very, very good team. They played well against the Colts last week. But more importantly, CJ Stroud looked really, really good. And we know what the Bears are for the most part. We watched it happen. Caleb will put it together eventually. Is the get back next week, this Sunday? Probably not for him. Good Bears defense, a little bit better Texans offense, I would say. The Texans ran the ball incredibly efficiently. The Bears were a little bit of a liability in the run game early on. Let's see if they can string that together. But yeah, I like the Texans to cover, and I'll take them.
Where are you going?
Yeah, I'll take the same. I'll take the same Texans over Bears. I think, especially if they get that run game going in Houston, that's a really scary proposition. That's what they were missing last year. And if they get that going, no bueno.
Yeah, Mixon looked great
for the rest of the AFC South and potentially the league.
Man, coming into this, I was thinking Texans too, but I think I'm going to go contrarian because we got to mix it up a little bit. And if I'm going to get this lead out there, I don't know if this is the game to do it, but I'm going to go Bears. I think Caleb Williams starts 2-0. We see a different Caleb Williams out there. I think he's going to look what he's going to more look like. So I'm going to go Bears, which leads us into Browns at Jacksonville. Jacksonville is the 3-point favorite. Deshaun Watson's got all the troubles again coming to roost. But B-Will, we'll start with you on this one. Where are you going, Browns and Jags?
I'm taking the Browns over the Jags here. I think that Browns defense is going to be too much for Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson. I think it'll just – they don't have any – they got Brian Thomas Jr. who looked looked fine last week, but I'm not entirely sure that Trevor Lawrence will be able to get the ball to him because of Myles Garrett. I think Myles Garrett will have a field day this week against the Jaguars. So I'll take the Browns over the Jags, and I think they'll probably win by 6.
Wow. All right, I guess I'll go next.
Yep, I'm going the opposite of.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. I was just going to agree. I think we're in agreement. I'm going Jags. So I think Trevor Lawrence wins that game. I think Deshaun Watson and that team just have too much going on at this point in time. Great defense. Hate T-Law, but I think they win this game. What about you, Jonathan?
Yeah, I think you got Mike Herndon's internet from last week. I do. I'm going to go with the Jags also. You know what? No, I'm not. No, I'm going to go Browns. Yeah, I just decided in my heart. I'm going to go with the Browns.
I'm on the island twice now.
Yeah, I like the Jaguars to play well against this team, and I know everybody is absolutely shitting on Deshaun Watson. I don't know. Something just tells me that the Browns defense is going to play well, and that Deshaun's going to kind of string it together. Yeah, I thought you were going to say
the man was innocent.
I'm going to go. No, Lord have mercy.
Didn't know where you were going to go with that.
Just super optimism kicks in. Like, guys, look, we don't have all the facts. No, let's not do that.
He's a good guy.
No. I don't know what to expect from him as a quarterback. But for some reason, it feels like this is the get back for the Browns, and I think they win this one. It's going to be a close one. I'll probably give it to the Browns, probably 3 points. So they cover. But, yeah, I think it's the Browns.
And that leads us to the last AFC South game other than the Titans, which is Colts at Packers, which will be led by Titans legend Malik Willis by all accounts.
Come on, baby.
So this is going to be a fun game to watch. It might not look pretty at times, especially with A-Rod throwing 30 yards out of bounds and then also scoring on the next play. And then Malik Willis is probably going to look pretty similar without maybe the touchdown. So I'm going Colts in this game on the road. And obviously Detroit is not the 3-point favorite in that game.
It makes sense.
Why that is there. But yeah, I'm taking Detroit too. So, but no, I'm going Colts in that one. Where are you going at with this one, B-Will?
Come on, bro.
Jonathan.
Don't do that.
Jonathan.
Don't do that.
Don't do it to him.
Question. Don't do it.
Don't.
Who is the worst quarterback in the AFC South right now, Jonathan?
It's Will Levvis.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see, and I think he'll do well up in Green Bay too. I mean, the guy is a monster, man. He's the youngest quarterback in the league, and okay.
Come on, Stoney.
No comment.
I think I think AR is gonna. I think he's gonna win that game up in Lambeau against Green Bay, and they'll be 1-1. And he's the guy. The highs with him are extremely high, man, and the lows aren't as low as Will Levis's lows. So that's why I say that. He's. And this is what we talked about in the offseason a little bit. Me and Jonathan hashed it out a little bit with, Levis and AR. And I've been getting killed for saying AR is going to be pretty decent, So we'll see. We'll see. But I got Colts over Packers.
Yeah, it's Colts over Packers. Let's be honest.
What about you, Jonathan?
It's Colts over Packers. I
all in agreement on that one.
Yeah, for a second, I considered Malik. Like, maybe he can do it. Different offense. Who knows? Maybe he could be the guy. But yeah, I think he's going to go up there and struggle. It's going to be the Colts.
I'm glad I got Josh Jacobs in fantasy too, by the way, because Malik's not going to throw the ball more than 10 times.
Which, if my internet is going to, oh yeah, no,
Jets over Tits.
They're going to run it to the wheels fall off, Malik, and he'll have a lot of the carries too, I think. Which leads us. Jets over Tits. Jets 3.5-point favorites as of right now. This one I've gone back and forth with, and I guess I can start on this one before my internet goes out again. But I'm going 23-17 Jets. I think the Titans start 0-2. I thought the Jets were going to win before last week. As of right now, I'm going that way as well. But I forget who we went with last time. Jonathan, how do you see this game playing out?
Come on, Mr. Optimism.
It sucks.
Miss Miller.
It sucks, but I think you know what? I have to apologize to absolutely no one. I'm taking the Titans. Give me the Tennessee Titans 20-17. Pulling it out. Will Levis get back game. He's not going to go crazy, but he is going to be efficient. He's going to be good. He's going to throw 1 pick, but he's also going to throw 2 touchdowns and throw for 294 yards.
Holy cow.
Yep.
That's a statement there, Jonathan.
Book it.
Statement.
Tennessee by 3.
Okay. I think Tennessee loses by 3, 16-13. Yeah. I think we lose by 3 to 16-13. I think we lose by 3 to the Jets. Levis has a fumble and an interception, and the stakes are out.
Oh my god!
That's what I think is going to happen. We'll see.
So we're definitely going to have some shakeups next week when we come back next Thursday for next picks, because we all went way all over the board on this one, and we talked about it before the show. We're all probably going to have the same picks again. That's how it's kind of breaking down, but. I'm on an island with the Bears and Jags. We're all in agreement on the Colts. You guys have the Texans and Browns. Me and B will with the Jets in this game, and obviously Jonathan will with the Titans. So it's going to be real interesting. Hopefully we're going to have some mayonnaise in the air on Sunday night, and we'll be back with you guys then after the game. Hey, it doesn't smell bad. I got it in yesterday, like right before I left work. But
did it jump out your hands?
Back joining you guys to recap the game. Right. Almost dropped it. Almost threw it to somebody else.
I was about to say, the motherfucker just wants to get thrown to somebody else.
But yeah, we'll touch base with you guys Sunday night after the game, breaking it down, and then we'll progress into week 3 against Malik Willis, fingers crossed, against the Packers. But we appreciate everybody in the comments. Make sure you do us a favor and be like MB in the chat, who is one of the OGs for us. Said, hey guys, everyone else, hit that thumbs up button. 100% agreement. Hit that subscribe button.
Shout out to MB.
To that 1,000 support. Shout out MB. Been here since the beginning. But there's 300 of you guys in the chat right now. If all of y'all hit that subscribe button, we'll get to that 1,000 subscribers right now. So do us a favor and do that. But we appreciate you guys. Love you. Mean it. Peace.